Welcome to another episode of Distory. My name is Kirk from walruscarp.com, and with me, as always, is the wonderful, talented, always well-researched, and is probably going to have better pictures than me tonight, Kate, the Disney Cicerone. Kate, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, I'm doing really good. I feel like I've spent the entire day trying to figure out how to speak Cambodian, so which is I failed at it horribly. So it's going to be a great episode of me stumbling over Cambodian words as we head to the Cambodian ruins and temple.
Yeah. So when I was earlier, when we were on here and I was fumbling around, for those that missed the pre-show, it was basically me having a meltdown with my laptop not working, trying to figure out how to use a new ring light, not having a book, so I wasn't prepared there. But my notes are immaculate when it comes to Cambodian and Hinduism. So there's a lot of history there. So at least I have one thing tackled and I have a lot of photos up and ready to share. So exciting.
That's great. I'm glad you have that part. I have a lot of the actual Disney Imagineering part, and so we'll balance each other out in that. Although I do have some of that history too. So this will be a fun game to see if Kirk and I have the same photos to show you guys tonight. It'll be great. But I thought, so for those of you who have been following this series, we are in our Jungle Cruise Distory series, and we're kind of moving now at this point not chronologically, I guess chronologically, we're moving through the Jungle Cruise scene by scene. And it's not from the very, very beginning, although we'll show you some photos from 1955 when the Jungle Cruise first came out, because we've already covered a lot of that in previous episodes. We're really starting from the time Marc Davis started adding things to this attraction and then forward from there. So we have now gotten to the Cambodian Temple or the Cambodian ruins. We know that Walt Disney World and Disneyland are not ordered the same way in Jungle Cruise, so we're just kind of grouping them together for sake of time and make it easier on our brains to do it all at the same time. So we're going to be talking Disneyland and Disney World Cambodian Temple.
All right, halt, pause. We need to go back to the past, not to the future. We need to go back to the past because you know how these things are. You end up starting to research and you find something that makes you want to go back in time. So I have something that I just thought was interesting when we were doing our plant section in the rainforest section in the scripts, because I like to go back to these scripts too to try to see, like, pick out what they're using. And I use that as a primary source document as well. Sure. But the one thing in here, and I saw this in a video as well, they were going through, this would be from the 1970s script. In the rainforest section, they mentioned specifically the dragon's blood trees of this area actually bleed red when cut. So I want to just show real quick, because I was researching these trees, and what they kind of look like in Disney is more of this like mangled, gnarled up version of reality, because in reality, they kind of remind me of like something that you would find out of The Lion King, but you don't see that in Disneyland. You actually are going to see more of something that kind of looks like a palm frond or a palm tree. Now, this one has berries on it, so they actually can look slightly different than that more simple one. But I found one cut, and I was like, holy cow, their sap is crazy red. So the dragon blood tree does bleed like a red sap. It's very stark. It was startling when I saw it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, I had to go back in time, and check out the dragon blood trees if you've never seen them before. Pretty interesting.
The things we learn from Disney, I'll tell you. Edutainment at its finest.
Edutainment.
So, are we okay to go on now? Do you have?
We can, and I can pull up.
Trees?
This is. I can pull up anything you want from the rainforest or temple while you're talking. So.
Okay, so. I thought we would just kind of go back just a little bit, because we did show, no, not like back, but like back for the Cambodian Temple.
Yeah, but no. Like, that's where we're at. We're at all these things. Because like in succession, though, like you're better at pathing, because I haven't ridden the Disneyland version in a while. So like, think about like in succession, where do you want to start is probably the first thing you see. Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about the thing that was there before Marc Davis came. So they originally had a temple that had a golden Buddha, crocodiles, and a stone elephant statue. So I have a couple photos of that. You can see the golden Buddha in the center of this like shrine. And
Yep.
there is a monkey up on that column there. And then there is this elephant, stone elephant onto the side. And this is another photo of it, but not a great one because this is just like covered with trees. But
I have a better of the. I can't believe that this is frustrating when they change where things are for flipping, but I do have a better picture of at least the Buddha.
Yeah, that's a great one. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we can see in there. So when Marc Davis came on the scene, we talked about this in our previous episode. He really wanted to add a lot of humor into the Jungle Cruise, but he also added some extra history too. Oh, your monkey went missing.
This is in 1955. I have a monkeyless column.
Okay, so mine, I'm not entirely sure when mine was from because it's not dated, but there's definitely a monkey sitting on top of this column, and I think he might have a banana. It's really hard to tell.
It looks like two monkeys, like a big and a little.
Mystery of the monkeys. And well, monkeys come and go a lot in this particular scene. So it'll be interesting to see where they come from and where they go in this as we explore this tonight. But this temple was then redesigned in 1961 when Marc Davis came on the scene. And we already did a kind of a history of how Marc Davis got into the mix here. That is in our previous episode with the butterflies and frogs and hornbills, if you'd like to go give that one a listen on our podcast. But so this temple, as it got redesigned, we have some concept art for this. This one is in your book. And this particular book is it's on page 55. But it has things like snakes, turtles, monkeys, and the snake actually will probably look pretty familiar to you guys now, and I find it a really fun addition. Here, I've got it here.
Here, you know what? I'm going to do... Oh.
This snake, probably, if you've been on the Jungle Cruise recently, you probably recognize this guy, because he does show up later as our python, but he got cut from this scene with the Cambodian Temple and just ended up showing up later in the attraction. So, and then there's let me see if I can find the turtles. There's the monkeys.
Yeah, you have these ones. There's also another grouping. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then, oh gosh, where's the turtles? Turtles are somewhere. Turtles are on the stairs. There's a little turtle on the stairs. So this family of monkeys that Kirk is showing you, this one was a concept by Marc Davis. It just had these family of monkeys kind of playing around with each other, and they just got cut from the scene. A lot of times that was just because of budget, because all these audio animatronics cost a lot of money. So they didn't actually end up in this scene in Disneyland. This is mostly the concept for Disneyland, not Disney World. That we're looking at right now. And so, gosh, all of this is interconnected. So I'm trying to figure out where do we go. So the snake that I was talking about became a python in Magic Kingdom when Magic Kingdom was introduced in 1971, and then it later came to Disneyland in the 1976 refurb. So Disneyland, of course, it had this like early 60s refurb of the Jungle Cruise, and then it had another one in the 1970s, and then it had another one in 1990s, and then 2021. So those are kind of like our benchmarks for the times the Jungle Cruise significantly changed in Disney's history. So why don't we talk about, can I talk about staging before we talk about the history of the temple? Is that okay?
Sure.
Because that's going to take a while.
Yeah. Are you going to read this quote down here?
Do you want to read that while I pull up a few things? Since
sure.
You'll be there.
Yeah, no problem. So this is coming directly from Marc Davis talking about how he wanted to set up from his concept art to how the panorama of the actual attraction would go. So I set this thing up and I wanted to kind of an endless perspective, like with those arches back there. I wanted to try to create a sense of space by placing them bigger, smaller, and smaller. It did end up kind of like this, but without the monkeys and without the snake. Well, when I finally went through there with Walt, he looked at me and he said, "My God, why did you put this stuff flat? Didn't you say you wanted to look into things and so on?" And in the future, whenever I went through this and with him, he reminded me of this being a very rotten staging. Well, I certainly agree. I feel that in these attractions, your eyes want to see what's coming, and what's gone is gone. That's in the past. You're always looking out in front, and you have a really narrow span. This is something to give thought into the staging of anything. And as I say, this is a very definitive learning thing that we went through. But he always blamed me for this mistake that made the people turn their heads to have a look at the ruins. And I was so inexperienced at the time that I didn't know that you could move Earth that easily. So I could have just lined it up where it was. And if you look at a bulldozer, you think, God, this is impressive. How do you tell someone in a bulldozer that they should do something a lot different, you know? Now I know how to do this. I know now that this is a very simple thing, but Walt never let me forget that mistake. Never. And whatever my status was in the future, he'd say, well, now, not like those ruins. Never, never like that. Could you imagine, like you're stuck? Like Walt would be like, well, it's not like those ruins you did.
Yeah, so this is so significant in Disney history, and I'm showing this one next to that one that Kirk has. This photo I have is of the Florida version of the Jungle Cruise, and you can see now it has that depth that you're talking about. It has that perspective that pulls you forward. It has things that you can look at the sides, but also something that you can anticipate coming. So these were some lessons that he learned in staging that I would say he made up for when he did this Florida version of this attraction, because the original one in Disneyland, you have to physically look, it's all on the side. You do go through under like an arch, but everything else is on the side. And so there's no like depth or perspective, and you don't have any anticipation of going forward. So because of this really was a learning mistake that Marc Davis made that we see in the Disneyland attraction. Of course, it's been plussed over the years, and he's even, he did some plussing, they've done some plussing. It's changed over the years, which we'll go over. But what's so significant about this was a lesson in staging for him. So when you think about, he was the one that did most of the staging for the Haunted Mansion, especially in the Florida version of the Haunted Mansion. And it is brilliantly staged, brilliantly. So he took what Walt told him, he took his failure and he changed it, and he made it into, he got better and he changed it and made it into, now I would say he can create these very moody, atmospheric areas that people didn't think he was capable of, because he was kind of known as like the funny man, right? You think of like Claude Coates as the one who would create these atmospheric places. But actually, Marc Davis really worked on perfecting how to make something staged just right so that it gave you all of this atmospheric feeling. So I just think it's important for us to remember that as we look through all of these Cambodian ruins, we just can think of Disneyland's all flat, and Florida, we're heading into it. And that was because of Marc Davis's, his growth as a creator, as a designer, as an artist. This is like a very tangible way to see that growth. Yeah.
Yeah. And like a good boss, he goes back and never lets you forget that you made one mistake once.
Never let you live it down.
No. I mean, listen, we all have those mistakes, but it wasn't catastrophic, and everything is going to be a learning experience. I mean, if you think about just this attraction in general, it started out as being a very boring documentary style attraction that people refused to go on multiple times. It was supposed to be more like that true life adventure, and I wouldn't go on the Jungle Cruise if it was the same script every time. Like, for example, if they were to ever turn it into a speaker, it would kill the Jungle Cruise.
It would. It'd be very sad. I don't even want to think about that.
I was sad when Living with the Land went from cast members to recordings. And I was very nervous with the upcoming movie if they were going to replace all the skippers with like The Rock, as like an audio animatronic in front of you somehow.
Oh, gosh.
But I am very happy that didn't. I'm just happy it's skippers.
Yeah, me too. That is sad. Yeah. So shall we talk a little bit about the temple's inspiration, about where the design came from?
Sure. Inspiration, temples instead of falls.
Temples.
Let's do it.
Temples.
Temples. Yes. All right. What?
I'm waiting on you because I know you have things for this. I'm like,
no. I do.
ready.
I have in order because technically before the temples, isn't it the redesign with the new monkey god? Doesn't that come first?
Oh, well, yeah, we can talk about that first if you want. But it's interconnected with the temple. So that's
no, I know. But the monkey god kind of comes first, then the face, that like the banyan tree face kind of comes next.
Sure, let's talk about the monkey.
Then the tiger, then Ganesha. And the
I
spiders
mixed up my
and snakes.
notes a little bit, so sorry.
Okay. No, you're good. You're good. I don't. Oh, look, there's a spider web there. Is that where the spider is?
Oh, yes.
That is where the spider
I have photos, my friend.
Okay. All right. Hang on. So in this redesign, we end up getting a monkey on here. And why is this significant? Well, and where does this actually come from? Well, it comes from Hinduism, and there actually is a god named Hanuman, who's worshipped mainly for the devotion of strength and loyalty, and is revered for an unwavering bravery in defeating the demon king Ravana to rescue Sita, or Lord Rama's wife. The monkey is also associated with mischief and playfulness, which is also embodied here by other Hindu gods. I don't want you to get too caught up because it can get really it can get granular very fast. But Lord Krishna, who is associated with them, also childlike play, pranks on friends, and love of dance and music. So all of these things are kind of intertwined and get depicted with monkeys. So we're thinking strength, devotion, loyalty, and playfulness are the big takeaways on here. Now, I do have inspiration photos of monkeys. Where do I have?
I know, I have mine, and I'm like waiting for you.
Okay,
let's put it up at the same time.
Well, hang on. I don't know if you're going to use the same one that I have.
Okay, well, I have this one.
Okay, so you're actually using. Okay, hang on. Before we get there, I do want to show a depiction. No. This is an actual statue of Hanuman. So you have multiple different depictions of him, not only in pictures, but of this monkey god in Hinduism. I also have, before we show what you're getting out of the book, I also have this. This is another Cambodian Hanuman Hindu monkey god from Cambodia as well. This was found in the early 1914s in that same area, very close to Angkor, which is what you have as well. I thought this was one of the closest to the actual monkey that we get in, because if you look at the crown, and even this isn't the best angle, but his stomach is exposed just like that. But if you look at the draping with the leg up, I thought this was really close, except for the arms crossed. But he is missing something, so I'm still not going to get to where you're at yet. I also saw that
you went deep down the rabbit hole.
I'm telling you, it was like you might as well just make me Indiana Jones at this point. So this statue is from the 10th century. It's a Cambodian Khmer stone Dvarpala figure, and it sold for $36,000. And this was found again in that Khmer Angkor Empire, which is where almost all of these depictions of this monkey god that we get from Disneyland is coming from. So it's all coming from Cambodia, and specifically this one section of the Khmer's empire, which this is before the Khmer Rouge, like 1970s. This is way before them. This is dynastic stuff we're talking about. And this was a hand-carved stone figure of Dvarpala. and he was a representation or door or gate guardian, commonly portrayed as a warrior or a ferocious giant. And that's important because this is leading us, our monkey god in Disneyland is leading us to not only the temple, but also the sunken city. So we're getting both. And the big thing that Kate is pointing out here is there is something in his hand, which is not depicted in the other ones. So there's actually a crystal. So that's the concept art from Marc Davis. But you'll also notice the elongated earlobes as well, including that crown on top of his head. But again, stomach, draped, all of those things. But again, we're thinking of it as being a gate. All right, now I think we can get to, do we want to go to...
Can I mention something about this?
Yeah. Oh, please do. Please and thank you.
So one of these photos that I showed you had a statue of Ganesha, which is the elephant god instead. And they decided to move that one closer to the elephant pool instead, and then put this one of the monkey god instead. So so there are concepts out there with Ganesha as the elephant god in this spot instead, which you can see here that has
that's
the same
cool.
spider web. Mm-hmm.
That's very cool.
But they thought it would make more sense to maybe move that closer to the elephant bathing pool. So that's why it's not in that spot, and they put the monkey instead.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. And this, to be clear on like the timelines of when these were added, let me double check my notes. So in 1957, the shrine had that golden Buddha that we showed in the beginning. And then Marc designed that statue of Ganesha during those like 1961 to 63 kind of timeline is when we see the statue come in. And then it was reworked in 1974, which then that's when we add that spider in there. So the spider didn't come until that like 1974 to 76 timeline. And then in 2021, the statue was then replaced with a cobra, which we'll get into the cobras in a little bit, but that's why you don't see him there anymore.
Yeah, this is the redesigned model from Fred. How do you pronounce that? Yorger,
yeah.
Yorger and Blaine Gibson. Yeah.
Work. Yeah. Fred Yorger did all the rock work for the Disney parks. Pretty much any rock work you see that looks like rock, he either made it himself or he trained the people who made it, because he was the one that was like an expert on rock work. And that's why it says a great big rock fell on his head in the tombstone in the Haunted Mansion.
Poor Fred.
Poor Fred. Yes. One more place this monkey does show up is inside the temple, the Cambodian temple in the Florida version. There is this, there was this same monkey in a golden statue version once upon a time. He's not there anymore. He's also been replaced by a cobra.
We also have a cobra.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The cobra came in with all of those changes that we saw in 2021 that were like cultural sensitivity changes. But this is what was there before. So same one, not stone, more of a golden version, but the exact same monkey. Just a little bigger. He's pretty bigger, and he's holding like it's really hard to tell from here. He's holding a whole bunch of like jewels. So he's a little larger.
That is a wealthy monkey.
He's very wealthy, yes. And he has all the cobras like guarding him. So I'm sorry, I cut you off from where you're at. We do have to talk about the spider, but I don't want to get there yet if you have more for that.
Well, I think you and I we're traveling to the same spot in the city of Angkor. Are we going to Bante Sri?
Yeah. Yep. I think that's where we're headed.
Okay. So I did want to here, I'm going to move this thing because this thing's so big. Oh! Don't look at the man behind the curtain. The book is so big, it literally took out the whole entire setup over here. All right. So I do have temple pictures. Do we want to look at temple pictures?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So this was uncovered by the French, I believe, in 1914. This was a hand-hewed, multiple different types of rock but they give off kind of like a pinkish tone. And it is this immaculate temple called the Bante Sri Temple. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous here in Angkor, or close to Angkor. It's very small when you think about in terms of like overall size. To put things into scale perspective, there's a little tiny person right here. So it's square footage wise, it's not that big, but because it was completely unearthed, it's in amazing condition.
That's interesting. That's not at all what I have.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have that at all.
Yeah.
I have something completely different.
Yeah. Oh, no. Because this leads us inside to where we can see our monkey guards.
Oh, okay.
So now, you might have zoomed up pictures of monkey guards.
Whoa. Because I have more.
All right.
Because what I have is Angkor Wat, which is
Wait, but I have Angkor who? No, I don't.
Angkor how? Angkor Wat. So ANGKOR. Like I said, I don't know how to speak Cambodian. But mine, we have like completely different structures. So Angkor Wat is what I've heard is what inspired this.
Interesting.
And it is actually in this book, the Marc Davis one.
Oh.
But it says it's actually, I was like, this is not small, because in the Guinness Book of World Records, it's actually the largest religious structure in the world.
Where do you have it in this book where he says specifically that version of it? I only asked because
it'll take me for a while to look for it.
No, I'm like over here. Oh, Angkor. Okay. Mark again took inspiration from the ruins of Angkor Wat. This time, however, guests would explore a flooded interior. However, that's the one for the face, not for the monkey guards.
It has the monkeys too. So
they do have monkey guards on that, but the monkey section they talk about specifically just Angkor on this other page. But again, I don't know who edited this and where they picked things from. But I'll tell you, these things are very close to one another.
They're all intertwined.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I don't know. I thought it was from Angkor Wat. So maybe the monkeys are from yours, but the rest is from...
Well, I don't know. What do your monkeys look like? Show me your monkeys, bro.
Show me your monkeys. It does have that reddish stone. I feel like there might be more than
No. We're good. We're good. Our monkeys are the same. Because I have that same one who's missing a hand.
Okay.
Again, though, this is just saying that this is at Bante Sri. But yours is saying... Because I have the exact same.
That makes sense. Because the stone is a different color. So, okay. I concur. I think you're right. I think that's where that's from. And you'll never hear me say that again. So... savor it while you got it.
Listen, unlike Waltz, I'll never bring it up. We'll just move on. You know?
Unlike Waltz. Never let me live it down.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let you ruin this podcast. Get it? Like ruin sorry, it was a bad joke. All right.
Okay. So I won't talk about Angkor Wat yet, since we're still talking about monkeys and we haven't talked about the spider yet.
We should talk monkeys. So inside of this temple complex are pretty much the exact same monkeys that exist in the attraction. Like, because you're getting the exact same look, feel, shape, structure. I mean, he basically just took this, and the only difference is it still has a hand, which makes me think, Kate, maybe I'm dumb. I think the hands actually physically held something.
I think so too.
And they actually physically cut him out. Like there were jewels and somebody came in, found it, and pillaged the site for whatever was in there.
They could be.
Like just cut off the arm. Because like if you look, it's that arm again.
Mm-hmm.
Arm again. But these guys are also holding, but they're just holding stone. They don't actually have crystals or anything. So it's just interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to do more research in that. I know a lot about Disney, but my Cambodian temple history is...
No, hey, I'm telling you, I went down like a weird rabbit hole with Cambodian temples. Like, so this is another one, but this is close by. This is at Angkor Wat. So I didn't actually read that before, but this is a different one.
And I'm showing the one that is from where they relocated it closer to the elephant bathing pool. This is where he went.
So you can see this one almost has more of like a beak-like structure for his face, and then his right hand again holding a crystal shape. Although that one is hewn out of stone as well. Although this guy's wearing snakeskin pants.
Oh, I'm just kidding. This isn't the elephant bathing pool. This is still a monkey. Never mind.
Yeah, that's still monkey gods. Still monkey gods. But yeah, he's kind of got a beak-like structure to him.
He does.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. But you're correct in this is saying there are over 1,000 temples ranging from different size in the rice fields of Angkor Wat. So that I must have just picked one specific site, and Angkor Wat might be the complex of all of them in comparison.
I think it is.
So like maybe
they were all built over the years.
Yeah, so like let's say Angkor Wat is the one that's all of them all together, but the one specific site where the monkeys are is that's Banate Shri. So that would make sense. That covers all of it.
Because the face itself is in a different spot. Mm-hmm. So can I talk a little bit about what Angkor Wat is, just since we're already kind of there?
I would love nothing more than you to talk about it.
Okay. Like I said, it's the largest religious structure in the world. It was originally constructed as a Hindu temple dedicated to the god Vishnu for the Khmer Empire by King Suryavarman during the 12th century. It was gradually transformed into a Buddhist temple, though, towards the end of the century, and that's why it's called a Hindu-Buddhist temple. So it's both. And so the faces that we see we'll come back to the spiders because it's a whole nother tangent. So the faces that we see in this temple are actually part of a piece of this temple that's called the Bayon Temple. And it features the face of King Jayavarman, the seventh. King Jayavarman the seventh. Also, so he built that part of the temple at Angkor Wat. So Angkor Wat's like a combination of temples. And that is actually his posthumous name. His real name, I actually cannot pronounce it. Mahapara Masuagata, I think is how you say it. But
that's how I would say it, you know. Just...
But he lived in 1122 to 1218, and he was king of the Khmer Empire. So he actually came to historical prominence by leading a Khmer army that ousted the invaders, which included a naval battle, which is depicted on the walls of the Bayon Temple. And so this is actually his face that we see in this temple, and then that Disney ended up putting inside the Cambodian temple in both Disneyland and Disney World, which you can see here. So they took that face and they put it here.
So these, the pictures that you have in front of me, Kate's got on her side the Disneyland ones, and then I actually have from...
This is Disneyland and Disney World side by side.
Okay, sorry. Disneyland, Disney World, and then I have the Bayon Temple at Angkor Wat in front of me with his face. I mean, they're pretty similar.
They are very similar. And these are also from there. You can see more. These are kind of like there's a whole bunch of them at this particular temple. They're kind of all sitting in a line.
I don't know, and I don't think that they pulled from here, because there are, in that same Banyan temple, there are sections that have overgrown roots and whatnot. Like it's like, let me show you one just so you get an idea. But it's not exactly, well, there's a couple of them, but then I also have.
I was like, I knew we were gonna have the same one.
Right. So, I mean, you can see that plant go all over it, which I do have. Hang on, can you keep your picture up real quick, just so I want to read.
To get to the face. It's fine. I got it.
Take it to the face.
I got it to the face.
I just wanted to talk about the plant. Like, can we get nerdy on plants for like 2 seconds?
Sure.
Okay. Banyans, which this is the root structure that's growing across the temple, is a type of fig tree that's native to India and also through Southeast Asia. It's a symbol of strength, longevity, and resilience in Hinduism, and is revered as a sacred tree in other cultures as well. But what's interesting about it is that these all start from growing out of another plant or object. So they'll send down roots. So they'll start somewhere and then send down roots above other things, which I think is just kind of interesting about them. And they do use some of the leaves, bark, and roots in teas, mainly in Chinese medicine. And it's good for reducing inflammation, improving digestion, treating respiratory ailments. And the last thing is some of the figs that are on this tree, completely edible, no problem. Other ones, completely toxic. So
like on
their
the same
roots
one?
run deep.
Or
No.
varieties?
Different
varieties.
species of banyans. Not to be confused with banyan, which is the temple where these banyans are growing. I do have a fun picture. It's from Thailand, which also had banyans in it. This is not any kind of representation, but I just think it's cool. And it kind of reminds me of Pocahontas a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's a Buddha and not to be confused. Don't get too confused. This is Wat Mahatha from Thailand. So there's a lot of what?
What? What?
Yeah. So I just think this is cool that it actually existed, that a banyan did overtake a face. I don't think they ever used this for inspiration, but it did happen.
Right.
So, and they also call these things strangler figs.
Oh, it's pleasant.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there you go. All you didn't want to know about banyan trees.
Yes. We have a lot of plant talk tonight. I think it's carrying over from our plant day.
A little bit.
I also have this one. I just love this historical photo of this area, mainly for these alligators.
Yeah, the crockies.
You can see, yeah, crocodiles. But you can see the face is back there too. But this is a historical one from the 1970s, I believe, when they drained this area of the Jungle Cruise in the Florida version.
So. I love that. You know, doing my research today, I realized how many more crocs you guys have than us. And it makes me very sad. We have very few. You have a lot. And you had a lot more.
Yeah. With the ones that like went in a circle.
They were really cool.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm kind of sad that they're gone.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see you ride one like that guy with.
I would have totally. Gator Wrangler.
People ask me all the time who that was. I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't look familiar to me as one of the chief animators. So probably it's just like a maintenance person. Not that they're not important. Maintenance are very important. But it just was like, it just wasn't somebody I recognized. Something that's also interesting, just kind of a side note about Angkor Wat is you might recognize it from the Tomb Raider movies, because they were also filmed there.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, little side note. Not Disney history, but still.
Still fun.
Fun fact.
Here, I got another just croc picture, because they're fun.
I got croc pictures.
They're just so cool looking.
They're just chilling.
Yeah.
I'll get mine from because mine shows it with it drained, and you have it with it not drained.
Look at that.
Yeah, I think mine's Florida and yours is Disneyland, but still fun.
Yeah, it looks like the one on yours looks more crocodilian, where this one looks more like an alligator.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the mouth structure, like this is more rounded, where it's more like narrow on yours. Interesting.
So I also have one final great photo from, I should have started with this, but this does show the temple too, with this face. So this is what it looked like in 1971 in Florida. This was actually a Pan-of-View postcard. So what is yours? Oh, yours is Disneyland.
Yeah.
Okay. But you can see that shrine, like, or the temple, the top of the temple behind the face in this one. I think is really interesting. I don't know if I have that much else for the face in general, besides it being inspired by this king of the Khmer Empire. Do you have anything else for that before we? Got to go to do the spiders.
No,
spider
no,
time.
because I have the same exact stuff about Banyan and the Khmer Empire. We already covered it. So, yep, we're good.
So I feel like we should move to the spiders just because we've already kind of mentioned them. Now, the spiders are both inside or were inside the Florida version and outside next to that, not Ganesha, the monkey shrine. So this is really fun. We're going to go a little spider talk for a while, and I don't really like spiders. So, if it's not a spider lover, just bear with me here. Disney went through this whole like rubber spider era, okay, where they just loved them and they used them in like everything. And so this is where this spider comes from. So there's spiders that were in this area here. And this one actually looks like it was made in the model shop. Let me give you a close-up view of it. Brace yourself if you don't like spiders. But this one is like highly detailed. It might not even be totally rubber. This one's very well done and is large too. It's a pretty big spider.
Kate, I think that one is rubber and this one is glue, and everything that you say will bounce off and stick to my spider.
To bounce off the web and stick to your spider. But there's other spiders that were inside the temple. And they look like these ones for sure. It's not a great photo. There's not great photos of these because it was like dark in this temple. You can see there's a big old rubber spider there. And there was another one that was a little bit smaller in the corner. And these don't exist anymore. These ones were, I believe, just in the 70s. They were removed later. I'm not exactly sure when they were removed. I need to look that up. But they had these spiders. And so these spiders looked an awful lot like the ones that they had in the Haunted Mansion at the time. So the Haunted Mansion had two spiders. This is an actual diagram from where they were. You can see those numbers. They always use numbers to correspond with them. So you can see, I don't think it shows it on the white part in the bottom. That shows where the man in the web would have been. And we've talked about him before in our Haunted Mansion series. But there were two spiders that were in this area, and they surrounded the man with the web, and they looked like this. They had a little hidden Mickey on their backs.
I love that.
And
Kate, tell me, you wouldn't, if somebody from the prop department gave you this spider, you wouldn't love that thing?
I would give it to my daughter, but I could not look at it all the time. I would freak out. I can't. With the spiders, okay? Okay. I want to make sure I get all this right. So these spiders would just stay on their webs and they would not move, in the ones in the Haunted Mansion. They would only move their legs and make clicking noises. And the clicking noises was actually because there was a wire attached to a solenoid valve that would click open and closed, which caused the spider to like wiggle slightly. And those in the Haunted Mansion were removed in 2007. So I do have a date for that. Of course, they would have been shown next to the man in the web, which would have been a man pleading for help with the guests as they passed by. And the idea is that the spiders got him. For context, this was all in the scene with the, where the endless staircase is now. So this is what used to be.
It was on the left-hand side, right?
Yeah. And it's still in the Tokyo version. So if you ever want to go see what it looked like, you can go watch a video of the Tokyo version. It's still there. So the spiders were removed because, wait a minute, not the spiders. The man in the web was removed because he looked too stupid, possibly by Dick Nunis, who also was the one that removed the frogs. Okay, so this is our little connection back to our Jungle Cruise history. So Lee Nessler was reportedly told to remove this man in the web right after opening. Because in operations at Walt Disney World thought it was too gruesome. There was a lot of excuses for why they thought he was removed. So there's a lot of mystery about what happened to the man in the web. I won't get all into it now because we are focusing on the Jungle Cruise today. However, I found something that there was actually a report I think it's from Lee Nessler, that the body was later given a different head and then ended up in the guardhouse jail at Fort Sam Clemens on Tom Sawyer Island, which was then changed to Fort Langhorne in 1996, which I have a photo of. So this supposedly is the man in the web chilling at Fort Langhorne now.
So that guy's snoring. He's sleeping in, and it looks like a jail cell, but yeah, he's just sleeping and snoring.
This is the what I hear is where he ended up, because he was like floating in the downstairs area, I guess, of the Haunted Mansion for a while. There's a lot of rumors that they would use him to like scare new cast members with a skeleton down there. But this is what I hear is where he ended up, obviously with some actual hands. And then there's like the guardhouse, right? But so...
Well, if you look at that face, I mean, it looks horrible. It's like somebody just laid paper mache onto the, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's no actual photos of the man in the web, like, in the attraction. So, like, we have a lot of concept art, and we have people that say they saw him, but it was removed before the ride officially opened. So maybe during, like, a cast preview. I do have a great photo of the spider.
This is on the internet, so I'm not saying it's
that's
correct.
The concept art. That's the concept art for him.
But what is this? That sure looks like it.
Okay, so...
Because that's that's the banister.
Yeah, well, there was somebody who made a mock-up of what it would look like by adding the man of the web from the concept to the web that was actually there, because the web stayed there, but the man didn't. So there's no actual photos of him
that exists
in the web. It's
just
all
not on the internet. Yeah. Okay. That'd be so cool to find.
Because I think this is the photo of this is what you were looking at here. See the banister? This web did exist. They left the web there. And so somebody took that web and then that concept art and they just merged them together. But they don't actually exist as a photo that I have seen. It might exist. I have not seen it. So anyway, so we were talking... So back to the spiders. Like I said, rubber spiders were being used an awful lot here. And this one, another spider jump scare. Sorry, friends. This, of course, is our good friend Yale Gracie adding yet another rubber spider to an attraction. And then my favorite rubber spider doll, I know this is a little rabbit hole, and I'm sorry, it's a little spider rabbit hole. They had one that was in Snow White's Scary Adventures in Walt Disney World that was in the dungeon with the skeleton. And then it would like move down towards the skeleton on a track and then go back. So I see, I think I have a picture of that. So it looked like this. I went down the spider rabbit hole. You went down like ancient history.
That's okay. I like this one. This is a good, I never thought that I'd be so interested in rubber spiders in my life.
Yeah. So they were really, just loved their rubber spiders back then.
I think they got a deal. They were like, all right, listen, Disney, you're making a lot of stuff. You're going to need spiders. We just got a fresh lot. And like, you know, the guy back in the office, his boss is like, all right, Jimmy, you need to offload at least 200 of these rubber spiders or we're up. We're toe up. You need to go talk to Walt and try to see if you could. Listen, Mr. Disney, please, can you just help me out? Put these spiders anywhere. All right, kid. Give me a good price.
It's like, yeah, I'll do it. So back to the Jungle Cruise spider. The only other note I have about the particular one that we have that's in front of this shrine was that it was possibly the work of Adolfo Procopio, who was WED's resident wildlife expert for almost 40 years. So likely took an actual drawing of a spider, you know, a picture of a spider, and then turned it into this magnificent creature.
I just had a panic attack that you had a spider in your head because I just saw that your ears were moving. Like, do you know how your feathers move like real? And I was like, oh my God, this would be the worst time ever for me to have to tell her.
I would be done. I would be done with the show. I would be going to do something, burn my hair. I don't know. It would be done. I'd be finished. That would be no. Yeah. So little spider history for you. Those ones, I always thought that those spiders came from the Haunted Mansion and then ended up in Jungle Cruise, but they existed at the same time in both locations. So that doesn't seem possible. And they really weren't like that like interesting, they would just kind of click and move every once in a while. So they had the hidden Mickey on them though, so that's something. But that's all my spider talk. Thanks for coming.
Do you want to hear a spider dad joke?
Sure.
All right. This is pretend that just suspend disbelief and just listen to the joke. All right. This doesn't pertain to me.
Okay.
My girlfriend told me to take the spider out instead of killing it. We went out, had some drinks. Cool guy. Wants to be a web developer. You know what's so sad? We were talking about earlier about old school search engines. And man, like web crawlers or just the web in general, like calling the internet the World Wide Web.
World Wide Web. Yeah.
What old people, bunch of boomers.
Yeah. I'm going to get on the web.
I can't get on the net right now.
Get on the net. Surf the net.
Surf the net.
We're dating ourselves.
I know. It's okay. It's okay.
We're old, but it's good.
Okay, so we've done so far. We have covered our monkey god. We have covered our spiders, and we have covered our face in the banyan trees.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do we have? We have tigers. We have cobras. We have elephant gods. Oh my. Is there anything else?
I don't have too much about elephant gods. So yeah, I think that's it for the camp. We have the statues, but we already kind of talked about them. We should just throw those in there real quick. The statues that are at the end of the temple, they are from, I don't know if you can, I couldn't find a good photo of them.
What are you looking for?
So the ones that, when you're heading out of the temple for the Florida version, and there's those like people that are on the walls that are missing arms and things.
Oh, inside the temple?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I gotcha.
So they're the ones from
I'll
this
try to find something. Yeah.
Here. And then those, because we talked about Angkor Wat already, like I said, this episode's a little bit wonky because it's like the order of this is a little bit different depending if you're in Florida or Magic Kingdom, but this actually came from Angkor Wat as well, these people. And there's this one here, it's a little bit, so you can see they had statues of people on the walls. I feel like I had actual ones of the people with their missing arms, and they're missing arms.
Yeah, I was going to say they're missing arms inside the temple as well.
Mm-hmm. I think I just don't have that photo handy, but I just think it's fascinating because we always think that, these creatives that designed the Disney parks were so original, but really a lot of things they did were like
plagiarism.
Directly lifted.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, just copied off of other things.
But that's, that's half. I think that's half the battle for a lot of things is just, first of all, somebody has to find it, right? So if you did the original research and found something and then brought it to other people as if it was your own, or as not even necessarily as your own, but just people never saw it before. So for them, how would they know unless you're going to go back and research?
That's true.
Which you're not going to, unless you're us.
So, gosh, I have so many things. I'm not really sure where we should go with this because they're all interconnected. Do we want to talk about the tiger next?
Yeah, let's do the tiger.
Okay. I really don't have all that much about the tiger besides some concept art. And the fact that it was the Bengal tiger was first in Walt Disney World, and then it was added to the Disneyland attraction in 1976. So that 1976 refurb. I do have some concept art here that shows, gosh, this book is so heavy. This shows what the tiger looked like from Marc Davis.
And here is what our tiger looks like in the Walt Disney World version. Although this is like the best framed, awesome, saturated. He looks like a mess. When you're going by, you're like, oh God, it's like poorly lit. This is like somebody had time to take a nice still shot or has a really, really good camera.
They edited that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, this is definitely color graded.
Like
the saturation is yeah.
it's so
really
vivid.
Good.
And then Disneyland's one. I had a picture of that here. This is one I took. And this one we see a lot with our crocs.
Yeah, I love the amount
maybe.
of, I don't know. Yeah, I love that one because you just have so many in the basque. Like a group of gators or crocs is called a basque when they're on land laying out in the sun. They just look so cool.
Well, and I kind of feel like it looks more realistic at Disneyland because it's farther away from you, so you really can't see him up close. And I know Marc Davis really wanted this to kind of stalk back and forth. That was a thing that he wanted. He says I found a place where I can have a tiger walk menacingly along the bank as boats go by. Well, that was Walt Disney, actually. That wasn't, sorry, I read that wrong. So I think Walt wanted it to walk back and forth. I've never seen him walk. He's always been pretty stationary, just hanging. But that was that 1976 refurb with the tiger. It's in both places.
Now, when they talk, hang on, where is I'm going to scroll down. I'm in our script here because I just want to pull one tiger line.
I have a good picture of them painting the tiger, too. Oh, gosh, this book is 1,000,000 pounds, guys. I'm sorry. I'm like really trying to hold it. So
you're doing tremendous.
Painting the stripes on the tiger, which I think is really interesting. And it looks like figure finishing by Martin Schreiner. That's who's in that photo.
Okay, here we go. This is what I'm looking for. Has anyone seen my kitty? Here, kitty, kitty. Oh, there he is. That's no house cat. That's a Bengal tiger. And they can jump over 20 feet. And we must well be at least 19 feet away. Or my favorite one is the one where they basically say, you can, don't worry. Bengal tigers can jump 20 feet and we're about 10 feet away. He'll jump right over the boat. Well, for the sake of continuity, it is difficult to determine exactly how far a Cambodian tiger can jump. I also have pictures of what a Cambodian tiger looks like. Where is my tiger picture? That's Ganesha. Here we go. So I have some tigers in the Cambodian wild. Oh, look, this one's menacing. I'll use this one. All right. These tigers, depending on many factors, obviously, their size, their age, their fitness levels, but tigers are extremely powerful jumpers and they can leap up to 6 meters. So basically about 20 feet in a single jump. In the wild, they mainly use that ability to catch prey, cross over obstacles, move quickly through the environment. But also they are very, very strong swimmers. So it's not something you normally think about with tigers being strong swimmers, but they are. So when they do mention the fact that it can jump 20 feet, they're not incorrect. They are technically accurate. Yeah, there you go. All you wanted to know about Bengal tigers.
He does move a little bit too. I was looking at it. This, whoops, sorry. I have a video of it in Disneyland, and he does like move his head a little bit. You could barely see it. There's a good shot of the tree too, and you can see our cobras.
Oh, crockies.
Little croc. And then there's that stone elephant as well. But he just kind of shifts his head up and down. That's pretty much all he does. Does he move at all in Florida? I feel like I've done. No,
he just goes like this. And you're like, ugh. I actually like the best thing that somebody put in the comments was Becca goes, he looks mangy. And I agree. Like he looks scraggly.
Good term for it. Mm-hmm.
I think his fur reminds me a lot of Rebel. It's matted and close and like seen better days.
Poor Rebel.
Poor Rebel. Oh, can I do you have anything more for the tigers?
No.
Because we've done pretty much everything that would encapsulate what I'm about to show. I want to show a 1964 RCA Victor New Vista television commercial that was shot at Disneyland in the Jungle Cruise. Have you seen this?
Oh, yay. I might have, but it's been a long time.
I believe it may show up in a montage of things like when they do panels and stuff like that. They usually pull up like this kind of goofy stuff.
right world for 1964 RCA Victor New Vista TV.
Wow.
Here is television so powerful, we invite you to compare it against any link anywhere on any channel. Rugged. That's another word for RCA Victor New Vista TV.
It's a random TV.
With space-age sealed circuitry. If you're looking for excitement, look for RCA Victor New Vista TV. See the full line at your RCA Victor dealers now.
That's great. I don't think I've seen that one.
It gets me that so you have the monkey god and then boom, 2 TVs.
2 TVs. So naturally, there would be televisions in
listen, I know Uncle Walt needed his cash to make his dreams happen. I get it, but this is one of the better ones. Is like,
oh my gosh,
whatever. Let them throw TVs on there. Yeah, that was a good one.
Okay, so because Disney had this connection with RCA, they had this deal, and they said basically, wherever we can advertise your stuff, we will. So that just reminds me of that. That's how they ended up being the sponsor for Space Mountain, was because of that. So that's hilarious. They're just like,
it's a good one.
We got this new ride, new stuff. Like, let's just pop a few TVs in there.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, right? Like 1964, so we no longer have a Buddha. We now have like the monkey god. So like it is an update. It is a refresh. So great time to put in TVs because we can talk about your new attraction and try to sell our state of the art.
Yeah, they sold them both at the same time because they did the Cambodian Temple. They did the elephant bathing pool. That was new. They did the shrine. Like all of that was new. So they were displaying all their new things and some new TVs.
Yeah, it was cool. I was happy to catch that.
That's fun. I love that. Okay, so before we go like into the temple, I know we've kind of already like showed bits and pieces of it because this is all kind of interconnected. But before we go into the temple, can we talk a little bit about the history of this sea, like the backstory of some of this area?
Like SEA?
Yeah, like Society of Explorers and Adventures.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So this temple is known by the skippers. They nicknamed it the Shirley Temple. Sometimes they called it the Lost Temple of Shirley. So it's, of course, connected back to the actress Shirley Temple.
And they tried to spell it SHIR space LEE.
Shirley Temple, yes. So this temple supposedly was visited by Trader Sam. And then apparently he accidentally dumped a liquor concoction of his into a pool behind the temple, which resulted in said pool becoming a hot spot for Indian elephants in years to come. So I don't know how official that particular part of this is.
Okay.
It sounds a little bit iffy to me. So I'm going to do a little more research before we get to the elephant bathing pool. But just hear me out. So then this one is a little bit more official. So June 5th of 1888, the temple's ruins were found by explorer Dr. Albert Falls. Falls had a portrait of himself made outside the temple. Now, Kirk, can you remember where this portrait is located? Because you saw it fairly recently.
It's at Skipper Canteen. It's like in the SEA room on the left-hand side over the fireplace.
So it looks like this. And there is good old Albert Falls outside of the ruin. So this is the story of this portrait here. So he had his discovery made official by the Society of Explorers and Adventurers and senior member Sango Shio. Dr. Albert Falls explored the ruins, but made sure not to touch anything, as advised to him by his dear friend and fellow British colonist, Lord Henry Mystic. So he was like, he went in the temple, but didn't touch anything. So at some point in the mid to late 1930s, a jungle cruise navigation company steamboat called the Zambezi Zelda went missing within the temple. This resulted in the Jungle Navigation Company prohibiting entry into the temple. Skippers were, however, known to disobey this advice and take tours into the temple anyway. So skippers are technically not supposed to be taking you into the temple. And then by 1938, an author named Mo Williams wrote a book on the temple called The Lost Temple of Shirley. Alberta Falls would modify the map and made by Frank Wolf for skippers to have the words "Ancient Temple, do not touch anything" over the temple for unknown reasons. So that's kind of like the backstory of this temple.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. That's where you can find that portrait at the Skipper Canteen if you go see it. And it's from this moment when he discovered the ancient Cambodian temple.
And I feel very strongly, but I cannot confirm that there is a book title about the Shirley Temple.
Yeah, we need to.
But I have to go back. I have to go back to my books. Also, just side note, and I just remember this from when I used to teach world cultures and whatnot. Elephants, it's not uncommon for them to eat fermented fruit and get a little tipsy. So I'll save that. Yeah. And I don't want to tell that story because it's a fun story, and I want to tell it with the elephant bathing pool. So yeah, I'll hold that.
Okay. You already kind of told us, but it's okay.
No, I didn't. I didn't tell you anything. I just told you that. No, you gotta know. You gotta learn more. Like, how do they get this stuff? You know, I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. So headed into the temple, we've already talked about the tiger. So we want to mention. We didn't really talk about the cobras too much. But
we need to do cobras.
We need to do cobras. They are outside of the temple and inside the temple. So in Disneyland's version, the little cobras that are kind of dancing that I showed you on this video, they are right after the tiger. They're just like chilling. They are, they were original to 1955, and then they were removed and then re-added in 1976 from what I've heard. I cannot find any pictures of them from 1955 though, so for sure they were there in 1976. But they were first in Walt Disney World's version inside the temple, and then they were added to Disneyland's in that 76 remodel.
There's one, here's 1958, the one that's in front of that.
So that's probably the one they're talking about, is that cobra. Yeah.
This little guy. Yeah.
And then that guy got removed when they redid that area with the spider, I think is what happened. So it's not technically in the same spot as it was necessarily.
Well, you have later. Spider here, snake here. But I don't see, because originally when it shows up, so this is 1955, no snake, no nothing, snake. No monkeys, no snake. Yep. And then we see those cobras. And then later on in the temple, this is like me like learning Disneyland. They're inside of, right? Aren't they like in here in this section?
They're like chilling inside they're
to the left of that giant head.
Yeah, I feel like it might have been. Because even in this concept art model, you can see them added with the Bengal tiger. Oh, it's in this one. Do you see them here?
Yeah.
They're dancing there. Mm-hmm.
And look, those are more of those heads like in Angkor Wat.
So I think they had one, and then they added a whole bunch more after the Florida.
Yeah, they have.
Edition.
I think they have in yours. They have 4 cobras. Wait. I only count 3. Where's the last one?
He's in your boat.
I know. Do they scare people purposely in that one or no? Because I've heard that joke a couple of times, but do they do? Is that a guaranteed one? No. But is that a cobra? Is that cobra joke like a guaranteed or no?
Mm-mm. No, I've heard it a couple times, but not every time. They tell some other jokes there. And then Disney World's one. So it's interesting that they took out the snake, but they added cobras. And then Disney World's cobras, this is a great piece of concept art here, where you can see them with that monkey shrine inside the temple.
Yeah, and we pretty much got that.
Almost exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Except the spider isn't like right over the spiders are way more prominent in that concept art than they ended up being.
Yeah.
Where's the picture of that for you guys?
And I do have...
The spiders were more in the corners. If you look at here, this is what it turned out to be.
And I do have a real short little blip on cobras. Cobras in association, remember, we're kind of taking a lot of religious symbology because these things are in temples in Cambodia, Southeast Asia, a lot of Hinduism or even a little bit of Buddhism. But they're viewed in association with deities or gods like Lord Shiva because the god of destruction, had a giant cobra around his like neck, almost like garlands. And it was the concept that he had a power over death and the ability to control, you know, these big old crazy snakes. But they also represent wisdom, power, and eternity. And I also have, where is my stuff on Shiva? I have one other thing on Shiva real quick.
This is an episode where you're researching snakes and I'm researching spiders. It's like, let's research our biggest fears and put them in a Distory episode.
Yeah. So Shiva has this representation of a third eye on his forehead, a snake coiled around his neck, and Shiva is known as the destroyer, but also represents the cycles of birth, death, and rebirth, and association with meditation, enlightenment, and inner peace, which I think is interesting that a snake is depicted through that and through the representation of Shiva.
Yeah, I don't think of inner peace when I see snakes. I just
I don't.
Not my first go-to.
When there's a snake around my neck, I usually am I'm not peaceful at all. Okay, hang on, there's a pretty good picture of a statue with the big old cobra around his neck.
Well, and so the cobras they're still around, I believe. Aren't they in the Florida version? But for sure we have like the big giant one. Disneyland still has their cobras.
Mm-hmm. We have cobras like in the front, and then that big old metal one.
Yeah, so this one is what replaced that monkey god when they did kind of their cultural sensitivity update in 2021. And they put this guy in there instead. And they did the same thing in Disneyland. They got their own version, but again, it's stone and not gold. So it's more of like a treasure in Disney worlds, and it's more of a shrine in Disneyland. So cobras. And I love that like his jewel is like glowing.
Yeah, like in its mouth. It reminds me more of like Indiana Jones style.
Yeah.
When you're in there, you know, versus like something else.
Well, and I get vibes from that too, for the idea of like, don't touch anything, like go in but don't touch anything. That's so Indiana Jones-esque, and Aladdin, if you want to go there.
Do you remember you guys had those talismans that you could collect that were called jujus? Well, there was also one I found for the snakes. They actually have one in Skipper Canteen in the men's room. It's like right next to the Daily New. And yeah, I wish they still had these. These were such a cool little thing to collect.
They were fun. They were like, it's like pin trading. You could trade them.
Right. Yep.
And they had one for that elephant that I showed you guys earlier. I was trying to find a picture of it for you, but they did have one for the elephant that you could, the little juju things. And then the elephant one was used to represent tracking and was modeled after Indian elephant carvings at flooded Khmer ruins along the rivers of adventure, most likely the ruins of Shirley Temple, but possibly the ruins of the Irrawaddy River. Notable past recipients of this juju included Dr. Albert Falls and Lord Henry Mystic. So they were all like associated with these characters, and you would get all the different jujus you would get for like certain like feats that you would perform, you know, and then you would get this for bravery, you would get this for tracking, you would get this. So I love the like meaning behind it. It was really neat.
This is almost like one of those things where it's like I kind of feel like I want to collect these because they don't exist anymore.
Well, and so we saw them when we went to the Skipper Canteen as well. They have a few of them hanging up in that little locked bulletin board area that's kind of near the exit or entrance, depending on which way you're going. But we'll talk about more when we get to our Skipper Canteen episode.
I mean, just tell me these aren't awesome.
Yeah, they're really fun.
So there's your elephant. There's Swiss Family, piranha, pineapple, tiki, tusk, eye. What does that one say? Trader Sam's.
It's like a pin.
Something friends. It's not enchanted tiki something. And then parrot. And they're just too cool. They're such a fun thing to collect.
I know it say that they represented a different virtue and could be earned via adventuring with assistance from one who had already earned a juju. That's how you could get them. But then you could trade them. and they were
Yeah,
used as
I
like
know
currency.
nothing about like how you would get them, how you would use them, but dang, they are cool.
Yeah, it was all with the Adventure Trading Company. So,
Hmm.
yeah, they don't really exist anymore in terms of like actively being traded or anything like that, but they are something that's around. So if you see them, that's what they are.
They're
It's
really
really
cool.
neat. Alrighty. So,
Alrighty.
alrighty. I did have a quote from Marc Davis about those cobras and the spiders. It says, "This is the Florida version of the ruins, which we went through with spiders and king cobras. We also added these monkeys that you can see doing things, but very simple things and easy to take care of, which is really quite nice. I like that bit in the Florida version. So the monkeys are another thing that are in that temple area. And remember how I said we'd come back to the monkeys? Well, here we are.
Well,
Arrived.
and the fun thing about the monkeys that are in the Jungle Cruise, they actually are monkeys that were taken from the land. So living with the land, on the left-hand side, there's waterfalls, and there still are some monkey animatronics left, but they took a couple of them and they needed them and repurposed them over in the Jungle Cruise.
I
So
can't lift this book.
yeah,
I'm like
there they are.
struggling over
With
here.
their heads stuck.
Yeah. I looked for some good pictures of this. It's so dark in that temple that not many people have taken pictures in there, actually. So I don't have a great photo of these monkeys, but they look a lot like the concept art with his like head like stuck in
Yeah, it's basically a
jar.
monkey head in a jar.
And they this of course is that repurposed gag from 1961 where Kirk showed us earlier with this monkey family. So we get them back into the Jungle Cruise when they made the Magic Kingdom version.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really fun one. And then I don't think I didn't show this picture of I should have done this with the other ones. The little people missing their arms. There's another little
Yeah,
concept.
and that's what we see in the Walt Disney World version multiple times inside there.
Yeah.
I've only seen it once, but I saw a skipper try to play rock, paper, scissors, shoot with one once. I actually have only had one time where a skipper talked the entire interior of the temple, and it was fantastic.
No. Yeah, I know they usually just rest while they're in there. And it's
It's
interesting.
usually like a vocal rest.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that it never occurred to me that temple is like flooded and that's why we're able to float through it,
Yeah.
which my brain like didn't go there. I was just like, we're just traveling through this like old temple, but it's actually like a flooded temple.
Yeah, well, because yours is called the Sunken Temple. So that's how we
yeah.
get through yours. And there's like an archway. That's all we get. Like you don't go inside one in Disneyland, but you do go under an arch.
Yeah, you kind of do it. But again, that's for that poor staging on behalf of Marc Davis that Walt Disney never let him live it down.
Mm-hmm.
But they did change the name of it. So it's not technically the Cambodian ruins anymore. It's the Irrawaddy ruins is what it's called, which is kind of interesting because the Irrawaddy River is like nowhere near Cambodia. So it's like a very strange idea to
Where's
change it to
Irrawaddy?
that. I just know it's nowhere near it. Should look it up. But I think that was also part of their like cultural sensitivity changes. But they left so much of the Cambodian stuff.
Okay, so you're right. Here, power of the internet. If we're looking at a map, here's Cambodia down here.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go over Thailand and then get into, what are they calling this now? Is it Burma or are they calling it Myanmar? I believe Myanmar is the correct term. It's changed a couple of times, but I used to remember it as Burma. But Cambodia, most people know Vietnam. Vietnam's over here. Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, and then Myanmar or Burma. And then
It's just really nowhere
Bangladesh.
near it. It's
No, it's like, yeah, like if we did, let's just take directions. We want to get from Myanmar to Cambodia.
I'm gonna surf the web. Get out your MapQuest.
Yeah, I mean, this is easy. If we were to walk, it's only 1,100 miles. It would take us 15 days. Or by car, it would take us 29 hours. So yeah, not even close to the Irrawaddy River.
It doesn't make any sense for them to call it that, really.
I mean, it's Southeast Asia, so there's going to be similar religious tones, but it's clearly not the same temples or structures. Not the MapQuest. It's not. Who uses MapQuest? This is Google Maps, dude. I don't even know. Does MapQuest even work still? Is that still a thing?
I haven't tried that in years.
Oh, MapQuest is still a thing. All right, search MapQuest. Cambodia to Irrawaddy River.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it doesn't do it. There's a reason why nobody uses you anymore, bud. I just did that on Google.
I don't think I have a whole lot else.
Ganesha.
We did that.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We might have mentioned Ganesha. We did not cover Ganesha. So all the way, we showed him for like 2 seconds. I actually have Ganesha stuff. Don't steal my thunder. I have no thunder.
I'm like, and we're done.
No, yeah, you're trying to like skip right over them because like this is our transition into the elephant bathing pool, which we do not have a Ganesha. So like, you got to take what we can get. So Ganesha is, again, another deity in Hinduism, worshipped for the god of wisdom and knowledge. But the big one was new beginnings. So this is really revered, especially in India during religious ceremonies, but a lot of wedding ceremonies. Ganesha is used as well. And if you're a big Simpsons fan, Ganesha does show up in The Simpsons as well.
Oh, yes.
But it's
probably the most disrespectful way possible.
Well, it's The Simpsons. What did you expect?
Simpsons.
Yeah. So Ganesha, head of an elephant, body of a man, large belly, but 4 arms, and is also the reason why a lot of people use him in cultural ceremonies is he is the remover of obstacles. So, Kate, I think in some form or fashion, we should probably start praying to Ganesha a little bit. Help us out. Remove some obstacles. Give us some new opportunities, Ganesha. We're going to need
Help us out. Help us out, Ganesha.
And then here's Ganesha in a more common depiction in art. Mm-hmm. I remember on tests, no joke, in world cultures, I straight up would have a test. Ganesha was the god of, and the answer was like new beginnings. And why or in what way would Ganesha be utilized in some sort of ceremony? I highly recommend it. Ginge, if you're not praying to Ganesha, we all need a new beginning. Remove some obstacles, Ganesha, please.
Yeah, and its location when they moved it from this area where they had Hanuman, the monkey one, they moved
monkey god,
and they moved it down later in the attraction. It really is just foreshadowing the elephant bathing pool, so that's its purpose in the attraction.
Yeah, we're gonna have a new beginning with some elephants, which was a new beginning in the 60s because that didn't exist. There were no elephants bathing.
Oh, I was just like, there were elephants in the 1960s.
No, they weren't. There was no elephant bathing pool, though. Yeah, there was no regular elephants.
I just thought you meant elephants in general. I was like,
no. What do I look like? One fun fact about elephants is they have the best memory of any animal in the jungle. I wish I had a memory like that.
That joke will never get old.
How can it? Thank you again for joining us for yet another amazing intellectual discussion with a slight bit of chaos, enjoying all the things Disney history. Kate, thank you so much. I always learn a lot. That's a lot of fun. And what do you got?
No, thanks, Kirk. It was really fun to hear how not only did we dig back into, Cambodian history, but we also covered spiders and snakes. Who knew that was coming in this? But here we are. So
I was a history major and I had a minor in Asian religion. So who would have thought?
It was perfect. It was meant to be.
Match made in heaven. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to next week as we travel into the Indian bathing pool, and also cover a little bit of the canoes as well. So that'll be really fun to dig into that history as we continue our journey through the Jungle Cruise. But thank you for hanging out with me, and I really appreciate all of you who tuned in and joined us for this episode.
Thanks, y'all.